Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Aaron.
Aaron is right here. Thanks for joining me, everyone, for yet some more SPTV. And this isn't even the last SPTV segment of the day, at least if I have anything to do about it, which I do. So, guys, this is going to be so much fun. If you guys liked Katerina Tozier Smith, you're going to love Andrea Lewis Butterworth. This is chapter 2 in me broadcasting Scientology's new wave of hate videos that they've recorded about me. Scientology is absolutely losing its mind about SPTV. All the new content from me, Mark Headley, Claire Headley, Mike Rinder, they don't even know what to do. They've created new YouTube channels. They recently published 20 new attack videos on Mark Headley. They're up to almost over 19 or 20 new attack videos on me. Some of these, I'm not sure they're brand new videos. That they might be re-edited clips and re-uploaded clips from old videos. In some cases, it looks like they have simply re-recorded the videos they had previously so that they looked newer. I honestly, some of these can't tell. So let me see. And guys, I'm going to get to the super chats after I finish the main body of the video. Let me introduce to all of you, Andrea Lewis Butterworth. Okay, so let me change the view here a little bit. So, oh my God, we're going to have so much fun with this. Now, look, the last video I did of this variety was a reaction to the hate video that my sister-in-law, Katerina Tozier Smith, recorded. That video was an hour long. This is not going to be that. This video from Andrea is only 2 minutes long. And the kind of shade Andrea tries to throw at me doesn't get into all the very nitty gritty, juicy, dirty family drama that Katerina was alluding to. So this response video is just going to be different, but it's going to be a lot more fun. So for context here, Andrea Lewis, Andrea Butterworth is her married name. She's married to Jamie Butterworth, one of the softest, weakest, person I've ever known in the Sea organization. And I'm not just saying that because I don't like the guy. I'm just saying that because it's true. When I was in the Sea Org in LA, Jamie Butterworth was the solo one practical supervisor at AOLA. I won't bother defining that, but I just want you Scientologists to know who I'm talking about. When I was in the Sea Org, I was the technical secretary at ASHO. Again, I'm not going to define the acronym. I was over all of the auditing and training for one of the big orgs on L. Ron Hubbard Way. Andrea was my direct senior. In the Sea organization, that post is called the chief officer. In a normal Scientology organization, it's just called the OES, or the organization executive secretary. But aside from knowing Andrea in the Sea Org, we were friends for, I don't know, a decade before either one of us ever even joined the Sea Org. We were lucky enough to work closely with each other in the Sea Org. And then we were also friends after we both left the Sea Org. That's going to come into play here. That's going to become relevant as you hear the absolute ridiculous story that she has to tell here and some of the stuff that she has to say. Oh, this is going to be fun, guys. All right, well, I don't want to hype it up too much, or maybe you guys won't enjoy it as much as I do. So without any further ado, I warn you in advance, I'm going to be stopping this every few seconds. Okay, let's have some fun.
Aaron Smith-Levin is an individual who can be described as very antagonistic. He does not react well to challenging situations. He's very reactive. He can be very reactive. And
okay, right there, I got to give Andrea credit. For her to say he's very reactive, and then to modify her statement and say he can be very reactive. God damn, that might be the most fair thing I've ever heard someone say in one of these Scientology attack videos. Usually the cringe factor has to do with the fact that everything is so absolute. Everything is so hyperbolic, so over the top. You know, Aaron never left his office ever except to come out and scream at people. Aaron was the worst Sea Org member we've ever had in the history of this Sea organization. Really stupid things. I'm making kind of a big deal out of the small thing, but that warms my heart. Andrea, when the day comes that you leave Scientology and we talk about how funny this all was, this will be a feather in your cap. You were you made the most fair statement anyone's ever made in a Scientology hate video. So kudos for you. All right, let's go.
He has been described as scary by some people. I did have an employee.
By the way, some people, again, pretty fair. She could have said he was very scary. Instead, she goes, he's been described as scary by some people. Well, that's probably true. All right, here we go.
Once who banged on my office door. I opened the door. He ran inside.
Sorry, guys. I got to rewind this because I buried the lead a little bit. Here we go. Let's do it again. Okay.
Employee once who.
Oh, gosh darn it.
By some people. I did have an employee once who banged on my office door. I opened the door. He ran inside. He literally asked me to hide under my desk because Aaron was chasing him. I cooperated with my employee. I allowed them to hide under my desk. Aaron.
Okay. I did say I was going to stop this every few seconds. I want to point out something that just kind of speaks to the nature of the insincerity, the fiction of this whole video. And it begins with the language. She's saying, my employee. No Scientologist or Sea Org member in the history of this sector of the galaxy has ever used those words. This might seem like a small deal. I'm just pointing this out to show like the put onness. I feel like I'm searching for the right words. The artificiality of this entire thing, how none of it is actually based in reality. Even if you were in the real world, you say my employee if you're the business owner and someone literally works for you. If you're not the business owner and someone, is just your junior, I don't know, what would you say, guys? My junior, my subordinate. These aren't even the words that would be used in the Sea organization is my junior. So she's trying to do this whole thing to make it sound a particular way to people who've never been in Scientology. I warned you guys I was going to stop this every few seconds. She goes, my employee. Okay. I'm trying not to. Okay. Let's just keep going. Hold on.
I cooperated with my employee. I allowed them to hide under my desk. Aaron came in. I didn't even say anything. I didn't know what he was looking for, but that did occur. Yes.
Oh boy. Okay. So guys, I'm having way too much fun with this, and I'm sorry. I am going to stop this every few seconds. So she just contradicted herself in her own BS story. My employee came in and hid under my desk because Aaron was chasing him. I let him hide under my desk. Aaron came into my office. I didn't say anything. I didn't know what he was looking for. Andrea, you just said based on what you just said, I would have been looking for the guy I was chasing was hiding under your desk. Come on, Andrea. This was the final edit of this. How did this make it through the final edit? Guys, I'm going to play this for you once again. I'm going to play it once again. This is way too much fun.
I allowed them to hide under my desk because Aaron was literally asked me to hide inside. He literally asked me to hide under my desk because Aaron was chasing him. I cooperated with my employee. I allowed them to hide under my desk. Aaron came in. I didn't even say anything. I didn't know what he was looking for, but that did occur. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what she doesn't mention here? She doesn't actually say Aaron. Wait. The video does say former superior of Smith-Levin, but she refers to the other person that wanted to hide under her desk as her employee. She doesn't refer to me as her employee. In fact, unless I've missed it, and I couldn't have because I've already listened to this video a dozen times. Does she actually make it clear that she was my direct superior? I don't think that she does. I was the tech sec. She was the chief off. She was my direct senior, and above her was the captain. And so you'd have to also ask this question, Andrea, as an executive in the Sea organization, Aaron was your direct junior. You don't just have a supervisory capacity, you have an ethics capacity in Scientology orgs, in the Sea organization. Every senior is expected to wear an ethics hat in relation to their junior. So Andrea, you're telling me a staff member was being terrorized by Aaron. Aaron was chasing this person around the org, begged to hide under your desk. Your direct junior Aaron came into the office, and you didn't even say WTF. You didn't say any. How could you say nothing? Was this a normal occurrence in your organization? By the way, guys, you might be wondering who were you chasing around the organization? This is a fictional story. In preparing for this video, I tried to rack my brain. Like, could anything like this even remotely have occurred? And I can't recall anything like this occurring. And believe me, I would occur, because in the Sea organization, this would be a hilarious story. Chasing someone around the org where they have to hide under a desk, that's hilarious in Sea Org world. And while racking my brain, there's only one person it could even have been. And I say that only from personality wise. I had 3 direct juniors. One of those direct juniors was a young guy named Michael Graves, my age, very, very skinny, small guy. And I can imagine a scenario where he and I are having a conversation and he gets upset and just walks away. And then I start walking after him. And then he starts running away. And then I start running after him. I wish I could specifically remember this occurring, because it would make an amazing story. But I want to point out the fact that it most likely didn't occur, because her version of these events is ridiculous. Someone's hiding under your goddamn desk and Aaron walks in the room and you don't say anything. And you're like, I had no idea what he was looking for. I think he was looking for the guy under your desk, Andrea. All right, let's keep going.
I was present when Aaron physically assaulted another member of our church and got into an altercation with him unnecessarily because of an argument. And it was
okay. I stopped in the middle of a sentence. I'm assuming she's actually referring to an altercation that occurred between me and her senior captain of ASHO, John Lundeen. And yet it wasn't an altercation that I started. And I've actually done a video about this thing. And I will do another video in the future, because I have a whole series of reports that I've written, that I wrote when I was in the Sea organization. And I'm going to do videos on those reports. And in that instance, John Lundeen didn't appreciate my attitude, and he took a swing at my head. He didn't exactly he missed, and then I grabbed him until other people came into the office to separate us. That was the extent of that altercation. In my entire time in the Sea Org, I have never struck a person. In my entire life, I'm not sure I've ever struck anybody other than my brother. And so, but you'll notice she doesn't name the people. Why not? If this story that she's talking about actually involved John Lundeen, it would be a pretty effective video to say Aaron struck, or whatever words she used, my senior, Mr. John Lundeen. But she can't say that because she knows she's lying. I think, you might go, why do they care if they're lying? They would say whatever they want. Yes, they don't care that they're lying, but they don't, when they are lying, you'll notice they don't use a lot of specifics. When they're lying, they make it as general as possible. So just for fun, I'm going to play that section one more time.
I was present when Aaron physically assaulted another member of our church and got into an altercation with him unnecessarily because of an argument.
Right. Unnecessarily. This is where, like, how did this make the final edit? Is she implying there is a circumstance where it would be necessary to create a physical altercation with another staff member? Like, anyway, whatever.
Argument. And it was illogical, and I'd never seen anything like it.
Never seen anything like it. And, guys, listen to this. Andrea Lewis Butterworth herself was physically assaulted by John Lundeen. It wasn't exactly a slap. It wasn't exactly a punch. It was more of a push into a file cabinet. And Andrea was traumatized by it. I'm one of the people she came to after it occurred, and she was shook. And anyone who's ever spent any time in the Sea Org knows that physical altercations, whereas they're not an everyday thing, they're not exactly uncommon. Now, I know in popular culture, we hear a lot of, like, David Miscavige having just beat the absolute shit out of people. That is true. That happens more around David Miscavige than it does around other people. And all I can tell you is that during my 4 years in the Sea organization, I witnessed John Lundeen physically assaulting maybe 4 or 5 different people. And he actually assaulted Andrea on 2 separate occasions. Now, so I'm not mentioning that like, oh my God, and that was unheard of. It was terrible. No, that was not normal, but not like totally crazy for the Sea Org. I'm only mentioning it because Andrea's like, I've never seen that before. Yeah. John Lundeen himself assaulted you twice, Andrea. So let's listen to that again.
him unnecessarily because of an argument, and it was illogical, and I'd never seen anything like it.
There you go.
Another instance, Aaron, I did not see this happen, but I saw the imprint on the wall where Aaron somebody threw a wall because he was upset with them. And that's very unfortunate. And
okay, well, that was a very weird edit that they did there. The whole throwing someone through a wall thing kind of occurred, although it's sort of funny to through someone. Okay, I've told this story. In the Sea organization, there's like a hierarchy of different organizations, and some of the higher level organizations are responsible for like putting in discipline on the lower level organizations. And someone decided that us lowly Sea Org members who worked in the service orgs, that we were really slacking off and out ethics for taking a 15-minute break from 3:30 to 3:45 when the course rooms adjourned for 15 minutes so that the public students could go take a break and have some water and have a snack. During that time, the staff members responsible for administering the course rooms would also go and take a 15-minute break, get a little drink, get a little bite to eat, because otherwise they'd be standing on their feet and not eating for like 6 hours straight. Anyway, so someone in one of the senior organizations decided this was totally unacceptable. And they posted security guards at the doors to prevent the service org staff from taking a break. Well, for some reason, some of these security guards were actually really skinny people, like not the kind of person you'd hire as a bouncer, if you know what I'm saying. And I was really hungry, and I was pretty determined on going up to my room and getting a little snack of, I was one of the few people who actually had a little refrigerator in my room. And I had a protein shake up there, and I had some protein snacks like protein bars and sausages and stuff like that. I was pretty determined to go have my snack. God forbid. I mean, you realize the kind of the degree of offenses that we're talking about here is wanting to have a snack during a 15-minute break. So I head up to the doors, and I see the security guard there, and I'm like, I'm just going to get a snack. And he's like, actually, you're not allowed to. I'm like, I'm just going to be 1 second. And I just walked by him. And the next thing I know, the poor little fella put his hands on me. Well, I don't start the altercation, but I'm willing to finish it. So anyway, we sort of tussled and struggled a little bit. And he ended up going through a piece of drywall. What can I say? She makes it sound like something out of the Bionic Man. It was like, go, 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 and he's flying across the room. No. We're literally just like holding on to each other, like struggling, like me trying to get him off me, him trying to get me off him. And it was probably our combined weight that ended up breaking this piece of drywall. It's not like me throwing some dude. So we're struggling, and the two of us hit, and yeah, the drywall broke. So, I mean, this is probably the closest thing to accurate in this entire video, aside from the whole idea of me throwing someone. And by the way, I didn't even get in trouble for this altercation. The senior organization, senior HCO, did pretty much freak out about it. And the ethics officers in my org were dispatched to urgently find me and bring me down to ethics and get me on the meter and find out my crimes. And I was, for like a few hours, taken off of post. But then the RTC representatives, in other words, the most senior people on the base who answered directly to David Miscavige, heard about what happened, heard that I had been taken off post for it, and they called my commanding officer and says, why has Aaron been taken off post? And John Ledeen was like, well, sir, he got into an argument with a security guard and someone went through a wall. And she goes, I didn't ask what happened. I asked, why is he off post? In other words, she was saying, get him back on post. So I was back on post and all was good. Okay, so anyway, so let's just hear her saying how I threw a guy through a wall.
Saw the imprint on the wall where, for instance, Aaron, I did not see this happen, but I saw the imprint on the wall where Aaron somebody threw a wall because he was upset with them. And that's very unfortunate. And I think that Aaron knew what he was struggling with. I think that Aaron knew that he was antagonistic and that this was how he was, and maybe he couldn't deal with it. But I had more issues with that particular person and more upset employees issuing complaints and filing complaints and telling me they couldn't work with him than anybody I've ever had. I would say honestly that I really cared about Aaron and I really wanted to help him and I really tried to help him. And
okay, again, I'm going to give Andrea credit here. Have you ever heard someone in any of Scientology's attack videos say they really care about the person? I mean, I have sometimes speculated in these videos that I don't know if Scientology asked these guys to sit down and write their little scripts themselves or whether it's written for them. Some of the stuff she says in this video makes me think there's actually no way this was written for her, because nobody would write that for her. So I think maybe they asked them to maybe put down some bullet points of what they want to talk about. And maybe the bullet points, maybe the talking points are approved in advance, but it's not exactly scripted. I just thought that was interesting. All right, let's keep going.
I found it impossible. And he did not accept that help. He pushed himself away, and he made it impossible to change or open his arms to any communication to receive that. After Aaron left, I felt a new sense of calmness in the workplace, and a lot of my employees felt calmer, were more comfortable talking to me, and were much happier doing the duties that they were given without being concerned about being shaken up, antagonized, or chased, literally.
Hold on. Wait. I want to keep her on screen while okay. So again, this is where I go, like, one of the things that she said there was my employees felt more comfortable talking to me after Aaron was gone. What? That's where what? How did that make the final edit? How does me being gone allow other staff members to feel more comfortable talking to you? I know it seems like I'm nitpicking, but it's like, if you're going to sit down and you're going to say stuff, it should all be sort of relatively internally coherent. It should all make sense. And none of the stuff in Scientology's videos, almost none of it, is internally coherent. Now, the other thing, remember what I mentioned in the beginning of this video? Andrea and I were good friends even after we both left the Sea Org. Both. And yes, my wife and I left the Sea Org first, but Andrea and her husband, Jamie Butterworth. By the way, Jamie's mother is Maggie Butterworth, famous person in Scientology, Sea Org, famous Sea Org member. My wife and I left in 2006. I don't remember exactly what year Andrea and Jamie left as well. But if I recall correctly, Andrea and Jamie didn't even leave because they were pregnant. Like, my wife and I left because we were pregnant, and we got pregnant because we wanted to leave. But somehow, I could be wrong about this. I believe that Andrea and Jamie managed to leave without even being pregnant. Now, they did get pregnant very shortly after that, and they have at least a couple of kids. But my wife and I visited with Jamie and Andrea and their first child after they left the Sea Org. And one of the things that Andrea told me is that after I left in 2006, she's like, you're lucky that you left when you did, because it got a lot worse. There was a period between 2006 and 2008 where Miscavige released these things called The Basics. And The Basics was basically a re-release of all the books and lectures that L. Ron Hubbard had really written or gave. And this re-release was accompanied by a massive international multi-year crush sales effort where all Sea Org members, no matter their post, were put onto all hands phone sales. And it's hard to describe how. I feel like just saying it was a sales job doesn't do it justice. It's hard to describe how abusive and destructive this period was for the Sea Org members involved, because it normally involved people getting 3-4 hours of sleep max and being forced to do something that they didn't want to do and wasn't their job and was actually an impossible task of reaching these entirely unrealistic sales quotas. Remember, there's only about 30,000 Scientologists, maybe 25,000 Scientologists in the entire world. These Sea Org members were being expected to meet sales quotas that weren't even possible to meet. And Andrea Lewis Butterworth told me a story of her actually chasing Blake Mooney, who was one of the senior most Sea Org members on the base. Blake Mooney, actually, if you've ever heard this story, that's going to be too far into the weeds. People aren't going to get it. Blake Mooney ended up having an affair, a fling with My God, Angie Blankenship. Angie Blankenship worked directly for David Miscavige. Angie Blankenship was sent to LA to run this special project of running the re-grand opening of the Los Angeles org. Blake Mooney was married to one of Angie Blankenship's direct juniors on this project. And Angie was also desperate to leave the Sea Organization. So she escaped with Blake. They had an affair. She got pregnant, and Angie and Blake left the Sea Org together. Anyway, prior to that excitement happening, Blake was one of the people in charge of making all the Sea Org members in Los Angeles show up for their allotted, time at the phone bank selling these books and lectures. And Andrea got so angry at Blake Mooney for something relating to all of this stuff that, and remember, in Sea Org terms, Blake Mooney was one of the most senior staff members of the CMO in PAC. Andrea Lewis, a service org staff member, is chasing Blake Mooney around this conference table. And she said, if I caught him, I was going to beat his ass. And to be fair, Andrea is taller and heavier than Blake Mooney. I don't know if you can tell from this video, but Andrea's a big person. So for her to sit here, and characterize me as being some sort of a unique problem, whether it's from a discipline perspective or a temper perspective or a violence perspective. I only tell all these stories so that the people who have no idea about any of this understand. Because the Sea Org members, anyone who spent a minute in the Sea Org knows these videos are all total bullshit. Andrea knows these videos are bullshit. And to be honest, I've said it before, I said it again. This is one of the nicest and fairest hate videos I've ever seen. And if that's all she was going to say about me, why did she bother to sit down and say anything at all? I don't know. But I honestly appreciate it. It's almost a nice video. It really is. So Andrea, when you finally leave Scientology, with or without your shit husband, I know you and I will sit down and have a good laugh about all of this. And if you leave Scientology with your husband, I'll apologize for calling him a shit husband and calling him weak and soft and effeminate and all that kind of stuff. But I know... anyway, I'll stop teasing Jamie. Okay, guys, I know there were some super chats and I promised I would tackle them before I signed off. So let me do that. I guess I don't need these anymore. Okay, scrolling. ML Henricks, good to see you again. Second live. Glad you find the humor in the crazy. Absolutely. Absolutely. William Rice, live your life in such a way that Scientology declare you suppressive. There you go. Sounds like good advice to me. Okay, how do I pronounce this name? Laura Musakani. As a parent and trauma therapist, I see the videos with abandoning children. Example, Surrey Cruz. How is that justified in Scientology as acceptable? Excellent question, Laura, and thank you for the super chat. Here's the simple answer. In Scientology, they say we are all immortal spiritual beings who are 76 trillion years old, more or less. As such, when it comes time to get a Scientologist to disconnect from like a child, for example, what they will say is, you're a Thetan who's 76 trillion years old. So is Stacy. Thetans don't have parents. They'll say your daughter's not, your daughter's body came from your body. Your daughter as a Thetan did not come from you. And so basically what they do is they cheapen and they break down and they destroy any of the meaning associated with familial relationships. And that is how they justify disconnecting, well, not just from family members, but anyone, but including family members. Thank you for the question, Laura. That's a good one. Maxwell Edison's mom, always good to see you in here. Wasn't yelling and being scary a normal thing for Sea Org staff and authority? I mean, they learned it from DM, right? Yes. In fact, yelling and being scary is something L. Ron Hubbard said is actually a requirement. The ability to do so is a requirement to be an executive in Scientology. And it's not that they learned it from DM. That's taught right in the materials of Scientology itself. Thank you for that. Danny Crook. Aaron is one of my all-time favorite antagonists. If you weren't on the right path, they wouldn't keep trying to place obstacles in your way. Can Scientology decide not to fair game anymore, or do LRH orders prevent that? Thank you. So if left to their own devices, a lot of these guys would probably just not bother doing the fair game attacks. Even though L. Ron Hubbard policy does say that's what you're supposed to do. So there is that argument that they're sort of compelled to do it because it's based on policy. But people in Scientology often do a lot of things or not do a lot of things in violation of policy. What happens is David Miscavige himself is the one who will absolutely lose his mind if he feels like he's not being backed up by other people, which is how David Miscavige feels all the time. So the people in charge of doing all these things have to keep doing them, even if only for fear of reprisals from David Miscavige himself. I hope that makes sense. Thanks, Danny. I appreciate the super chat. Okay, looking for the next one. I see it here. Jaded Neko. Aaron, it's vital we know if you won that imaginary game of tag hide and seek. Pretty sure Andrea interfered, so it's an automatic rematch. Guys, I so wish I could remember the story that she's talking about. It sounds like it would make an absolutely amazing story. I choose to believe that it was Michael Graves. And by the way, the problem is there's like 2 or 3 different Mike Graves or Michael Graves in Scientology. I'm talking about the one who's approximately my age and probably half my size. So the idea of me chasing this guy around the org is particularly hilarious. If anyone knew my personality in this org, I'm not the kind of guy who's going to go running after somebody. But I still choose to believe I was chasing Mike Graves. Thank you. Kelly Copter. Huge respect for how you respond to these videos. Thank you so much, Kelly. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, I did a live interview with Kelly yesterday on my channel talking about her upbringing in Scientology. And the feedback in the comment section to that interview have been absolutely phenomenal. So thank you again, Kelly, for doing that with me. And you guys all check out her channel. You can find it, Kelly Copter. She has some fantastic Scientology videos on her channel. All right, I see another one here. Vaguely John, slave labor is not employees. Yeah, exactly. When people start using words that they literally never would normally use, you know, something shady's going on. But that's even different than the point that you're making. So thank you. Jenny Davis, finally caught you live. Do you think these people are offered incentives to do these ridiculous videos? No. No incentives. The incentive is that you're not in trouble. In fact, it's like if you're talking about, you have the carrot and you have the stick. They're not doing these videos because anyone's offering a carrot. They're doing these videos because of the stick that exists if they don't do them. So thank you for that question. I'm glad you finally caught a live. Addison Steele, thank you for the super sticker, Addison. Much appreciated. I once took an upper decker in DM's bathroom. Well, if you ever do, please send Mark Headley a photo so he can include that in his Top 10 Tuesdays Shoops of the Week. That would be amazing. Fabian Andeal, so did you chase any juniors? Not that I can recall. I still choose to believe that perhaps I chased Michael Graves. That would require Michael Graves to admit that I chased him and admit that a man asked to hide under Andrea Lewis's desk for fear of being caught by me. I'm sure you guys can find Michael Graves. I think he's married to Kara Sherman, I believe. So if anybody wants to find Kara Sherman and Michael Graves on, I don't know, Facebook, Instagram, and ask them, hey, did you see this video where Andrea Lewis Butterworth said Aaron was chasing someone around? Was that you? In fact, Kara would even know because Kara was also another one of my juniors. Michael and Kara were not a couple back then. In fact, I was pretty sure Michael was gay. When I found out Michael and Kara got married, I couldn't believe it. Maybe he is gay and it's just a fake marriage. I don't know. But somebody should ask Michael Graves if he's the one that hid under Andrea's desk. And if he says no, then this story is just completely made up. Thank you, Fabian. Okay, Mallard Man. Thank you for the super sticker, Mallard Man. Okay, I see a couple more. Tawny TB. How are you and your wife able to leave the Sea Org due to pregnancy when so many others are forced to terminate pregnancies? Sheer will. Well, yeah, Tawny. I mean, sheer will is just, forced. When you hear someone in the Sea Org being forced to terminate a pregnancy, it's not physically forced. It's like they're coerced, they're harassed, they're pestered nonstop. They're, you're going to destroy humanity, like all this stuff. Unbeknownst to us at that time, this was in mid 2006. Unbeknownst to us, there was already a lawsuit underway against Scientology for harassing a minor who was a Sea Org member and who was married to terminate a pregnancy when very, very much against her will. We were not in the know that was occurring. And it was a little bit of a surprise when I went to my ethics officer for my org. And I literally, when we found out my wife was pregnant, the next morning, I went to morning muster. I went to my, director of inspections and reports, the DRINR, who's over all the ethics officers. And I said, Heather's pregnant and we're not getting an abortion. And she said, okay. And she put me on the routing form to leave the Sea Org. It was like a golden parachute out of there. Golden usually refers to money. So that parachute wasn't golden, but some marriage of a red carpet and a golden parachute, like our process of leaving the Sea Org was as smooth as you could possibly imagine. So that's the answer to your question. We just simply said we're keeping the baby. And these days, leaving the Sea Org due to pregnancy is still very, very easy because of the lawsuits. One in particular that cost Scientology millions and millions of dollars in settlements. Scientology actually changed how it behaves in those circumstances. So that's something good that has come from all of this. Thank you, Tawny. Okay. Natalie Scott, is it hard for you to see a good friend doing a hate video about you, even if it is mild? So here's why it's not hard. This is normal in Scientology. I've become very numb to this kind of stuff. Also, it's not like Andrea Butterworth, when she found out that I was declared, even though we were friends, was one of the people who actually took it upon herself to contact as many of our mutual friends as possible and inform them that I had been declared and make sure they were disconnecting from me. In fact, when all that was going on, I even called Andrea and left her a pretty angry voicemail calling her out on her BS. So it's honestly not hard. It's honestly not hard. And if Andrea left Scientology, I don't even think she'd be particularly embarrassed because she and I both know that this is normal for Scientology. And when I say she wouldn't be embarrassed, I don't mean because she doesn't have any humanity. I mean, she'd come back and be like, I'm sorry about that. She'd be sorry, but not like shame. She'd be like, you know how it goes. I didn't really have a choice. They came to me, they asked me to do it, and da, 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 da. I understand how it goes. So it's not hard. Okay, we do have some more here. Jay Dice, I found the channel. There are a couple dozen from last year. Same amount published last month. Then in 1 week, 22 videos. Pace increasing. Indeed, pace increasing. Okay, Andy Law. Hey, Aaron, we don't seem to be able to join your channel as members. Is that something you could change? I'd like to support you as a member. Well, thank you, Andy. I have not enabled YouTube memberships. Perhaps someday I will. It took me years of being on YouTube before I even chose to turn on monetization. And by monetization, that means you just click a little button. First, you have to qualify for monetization. But then once you qualify, you have to allow YouTube to put ads on your videos. That's how people make money from videos on YouTube. For years and years and years, I felt bad at the idea of even turning on monetization. And now that I've turned on monetization, there's still a part of me that would feel bad about turning on memberships. And I don't know why, but I can't deny that that's there. There's some part of me that would feel bad about doing it. I don't know. It's weird. Eventually, perhaps that I will. Like the memberships that you're talking about is kind of like YouTube's version of Patreon. Now, you guys know everyone and their mother has a Patreon. There are some Scientology channels who have Patreons, but not me. I just feel bad about it. So once I get over that, I'll probably turn on memberships. I can't say when, but in the meantime, I've always said I'd rather people made a donation to the Aftermath Foundation than, pay an extra $10 a month for a membership. And that'll make me sound like a hypocrite down the line when I do turn on memberships. Also I have sponsors on my channel. Ridge Wallets. Ridge.com is a big sponsor of my channel. That's another way to support the channel, is to support my sponsors. So thank you for asking the question, and I'm sure I'll be revisiting this issue at a future time. Let's see. Joe Birchfield. Why do so many people have the same first names? Well, Joe, are you talking about in Scientology? Because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people on planet Earth who have the same first names. Although Aaron is not a super common name, and it's one of the reasons I like the fact that I have that name. There's a lot of Andreas in Scientology. I'm not sure that the incidence of the name Andrea in Scientology is more than the incidence of the name Andrea in society at large, though. So I'm going to have to pass on giving an intelligent answer to the question. Thank you for that. And thank you for the super sticker, Music Man. Scott Davidson, wouldn't abortion leave the Thetan with a pretty bad engram? And how come you never hear about engrams from circumcision? Well, you made me say two words that I didn't want to say. So here's the thing, Scott. L. Ron Hubbard said eventually, like when he wrote Dianetics, and he was like, oh no, terminating a pregnancy is the worst engram anyone could ever have. That was before he created, he came up with Scientology and the fact that you'd been around for 76 trillion years. Scientology and its concepts of trauma include the idea that the earliest trauma on the chain of similar traumas is the one that's holding it all in place. And when you're talking about degrees of trauma, he said there's nothing that could happen to you in this lifetime that's actually the most severe or the earliest on any chain of traumas whatsoever. So, whatever trauma you could speculate occurs with, an attempted but failed abortion or whatever, pales in comparison to, being skinned alive on some planet in some galaxy 1 trillion years ago. So that's why you don't hear about the things that you've mentioned here. You don't hear these things brought up in auditing as being like a really big deal, So anyway, I hope that answers the question. Okay, I think we are getting to the end here. Love it. I love the debunking videos, SP Power. Thank you so much. And I love the fact that every time Scientology puts out a new hate video on me, they're literally giving me a video I can make money on. And other than sort of how that's kind of one of my goals with this thing is, hey, Scientology, you want to keep doing hate videos? Just keep giving me things I can make money with. I mean, Scientology already pays to run ads on my channel. So Miscavige is already literally paying me to do these videos. So now he's basically paying me twice. And I get to debunk the videos. And I get to make these people internet famous for being silly enough to sit down and do these hate videos for Scientology. So thank you. Love it. Ken's channel. Andrea making the video is exactly like a tax Mike Rinder would have to make. Oh, absolutely. When I was still in Scientology, if they asked me to sit down and do a video like this, I would have done it. So I'm not trying to, claim, oh, like I'm so much better than these people. No, I probably would have done it. And thank God they didn't ask me, because then my face would be on the internet in this way, shilling for an international human trafficking cult. And, just to wrap this up, one of the reasons Scientology does these videos is to send a message to Scientologists that if you leave, you better leave quietly, because if you leave and you make noise, this could happen to you as well. And so that's the other purpose of doing these reaction videos, is I want to send my own message to all the Scientologists who, by the way, do watch my videos, even though they're not supposed to. If you sit down and do a hate video for Scientology, that video is not going to be tucked away on some website that nobody sees. We're going to make you internet famous. I'm going to do these videos. Mark Headley's going to do these videos. Mike Rinder's going to do these videos. You're going to become one of the faces of Scientology, and you're going to have to deal with that for the rest of your life. Now, then, when you leave Scientology, perhaps you'll want to start a channel and you can do a reaction video to your own hate video. That would be amazing. I mean, that would be some Scientology inception. Or you could do a reaction video to my video about your hate video, and that would be like 2 or 3 levels of inception deep. And that would be pretty awesome too. All right, Paul Gaunt. Once out, do you think your critical thinking skills in other areas of your life are sharpened by growing up in a cult? I think that would be that would be a little bit far-fetched if I claimed that. I don't think growing up in a cult sharpens your critical thinking skills, Paul. Hold on, let me read it again. Once out, do you think your critical thinking skills in other areas of your life are sharpened by growing up in a cult? No, I don't think growing up in a cult sharpens your critical thinking skills at all. But thank you for the question. All right, everybody, that's all I got. I cannot believe this ended up being a 45-minute video after all. I just can't help myself, I guess. Sorry for those of you who prefer the short videos. I apologize. For those of you who prefer the longer videos, I guess you're welcome. All right, I might have more to do tonight. Stay tuned, guys. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that like button if you don't mind. And thanks for hanging in there with me until the very end, you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not,